Hi. Another one in the Watergate Bay series. I've done two. I did two yesterday, but I came back from holiday on Wednesday from this beautiful area. It's quite a nondescript photograph. It just shows some rocks from various rockfalls over the years, looking towards Newquay, beyond which is Fistral Beach. But a very beautiful piece of North Cornwall coast, very famous for surfing. So I'll take that off and I'll pin it up above me, just so I will only do an impression of it. I'm not into doing literal painting because I find it cramps my style if I even try to do it. So I'll just zoom out a little bit, a bit big as I can get it. Right, okay, that'll do. So I'm going to do another line and wash. You seem to like those. So I like doing them. So here we are. I have to put a little brush down, I can't find it. Excuse me while I've got it. Right, I've got a bit of ink, black waterproof ink, and I've diluted some of it with a little bit of water there, and it dries quite quickly. It's an acrylic based ink, I believe, so just add a bit more wet in there. Be careful to keep your painting water separate from your ink cleaning water, because it will get in everywhere. Right, so I've just got one of my brushes has got a bit bent in my pencil case. So I'll just roughly sketch in this go down a bit of the sort of rocks. This would be a more or less a half and half picture, with the horizon being more or less halfway. So we'll put in some rocks along there. Very little detail in this, but I know the colours. The colours are mostly yellow ochre, burnt sienna, green for bits of grass, rough grass, gorse, bramble stuff. But these are quite high cliffs, and they keep crumbling into the onto the beach with a lot of rain, so we've got lots of I'll just do some approximate shapes of rocks and so on. I can't do them all. Just I'll establish these shapes of these more when I put the paint on. They're just a higgledy-piggledy of sandstone, soft. Come down here to some on the beach over there. In the sand. And so on, and then the beach going out as far as the horizon. Let's put a horizon in there, try and get that fairly horizontal, going uphill a bit. But I don't want this bit here to be too dark. It's in the distance, looking over towards Newquay, which is here, and it goes out to this headland. And there's a bit of a tower, white tower on that, and the town harbour in this area here, but no detail. Right, okay. That'll do. That's just a basic outline, and these are dark in the shadow. I know the sun comes up behind these cliffs and sweeps around and sets in the west over the Bristol Channel. Right, that was probably a bit overdone there, so let's make that the dark shadowy area there. That's in shadow there. And the shore would be way up. It's a very, very low tides here. Be careful where I put my brush. Right, I'm painting on Fabriano, £130 weight. It's quite a smoothish surface. It's not great for dry brush. But I'll just give that a dry. Really, I need something to balance that over here, so I'll just do that. This one here. Oh, lovely. I'm just trying to show how simply you can do these things. If you try to put everything in exactly the right spot by squaring it all off and transferring to your piece of paper, it just takes far too long. I'm just going to dry off again, so take your earphones off. Some of the best paintings, impressionist paintings, etc., cartoons, type. Oh, I've got to have a cup of tea. Are often as good and stimulating as anything with a lot of detail, with everything in its place. I try to keep this as fresh as possible by doing it as quickly as possible. Right, now wetting wet, so we'll wet the paper. Let's see what sort of sky we come up with on this. This was drying very quickly yesterday. The weather's not particularly good now. We've sort of gone from a very warm summer to quite a cool autumn in next to no time. Right, okay. So we'll lemon yellow, raw sienna, alizarin crimson, light red, ultramarine, burnt umber, Payne's grey, and burnt sienna. Oh, is that zinc? Clean off. Right, okay, bit of sienna. We try and keep the light on the right, that rind. I go over the beach area. Just tint. As it expands, it will. I can reclip it. I'll just let that grow a little bit. Right, Payne's grey, ultramarine, Payne's grey, bit of alizarin. On the blue side, we'll just I noticed that a lot of the skies that were going over in Cornwall were very streaky. They were like fronts, weather fronts, and we had a lot of rain, and we had a lot of sun as well. Let it be said. The rain coming in, coming up the Bristol Channel. Right, okay, I'm not going to do much more to it than that. I'll go in with some green, mixed in with that sky colour, a drab sort of green. I'll just and then we've got some yellow on these rocks here. I've just had some dark on those rocks here. It might not register because the paper's nice and wet, but I just wanted to show that there is some colour on here. Seaweed. Alright, okay, let that go. Not completely happy about that. Now let's get some nice warm darks on those cliffs there. Burnt umber. Ultramarine. Can add a bit of red on that if you wish. Now there's a bit of yellow raw sienna in here. Right. I'll just reclip the paper, then I will, now I'm just stretching it a little bit, and you can see that it's going completely flat. Right, okay, let's get some darker, some red and blue in this dark area here. Right, card, plastic card. And just etch into the dark, but it needs to be wet when you're doing this. And it's catching a bit of light there on that leading edge. It didn't quite work, but got a nice new plastic card to cut up. Royal Automobile Association card. Okay, I'll put in the some of these rocks here now. Now there are a variety of colours, but you need to put them in dark. So I'm using light red and blue. So you'll see why I'm putting this in dark and what's going to happen to it. I will. Sienna. Putting the colours on here. Nice and wet. That probably drying a bit too quickly now. Right, now with my card, I'll just scrape off the light side. these rocks and just show some detail. So just to create an impression of light and dark, and I can, with my inch flat, I can create some darker shadow. I don't want to use the Haykel, it's a miss. So I put light red, burnt umber, just paint the shadows in, or the shadow side of the rocks. Right, it's very similar to the one I did yesterday, but since it's fresh in my memory, I really want to try to capture something of the scene. I'm going to use a small round brush, nylon mix, to do the background. It's coming up slightly bluey sienna-ish, because I've mixed all the paints. The colours a bit. I've got an overlay of grey. There's no detail in there. A bit of sienna on that. On the cliffs here. And we'll just put a bit of detail in here. Okay, now the sea is a mixture of raw sienna and ultramarine. Quite grey though, it's very light. Even that's too dark. And it's just from here to there. Now that's gone just a little bit too. I'll let that dry a little bit and I'll soften that. I'll just have another swig of tea. Now the paper is dry and I didn't really want it dry, so I'm going to re-wet it. So, whoops. You need plenty of water on your brush to do this, but don't scrub it, because you don't want to drag what you've already done and move it, because it'll just bleed into the wetted paper like that. So I'm using very light wash of sienna and sienna and burnt umber. Just keep that fairly and it's more intense in the foreground here. We'll say that the sun here on today, or the day that I took the photograph, was overhead, so not a great lot of cast shadow. Well, we've no, it's all running now, look. Well, what we can do there is let's try. Let's put in a bit of reflection then, and let's make these into a sort of a rock pool. And then we'll put a bit of the sky. Sort of a rock pool here. Hasn't quite come off, is it? Right, I'm going to dry that off now. Right, I'll get a bit of clean tissue and I'll take a clean brush, but I want just to ease some of that out there. Right, that I want it to be really white to show the surf coming in there. But that, I'll let that go. I'm quite happy with that. That's quite reasonable. This, well, does that look like a rock pool to you? I know what I'll do. I'll put a bit of a dry brush over this here. Probably hasn't worked. I'm going to call this the Watergate Bay series. Now I need some figures on that now. To show some scale. Now I did mention that a lot of these figures are wetsuited, so there wouldn't be many bed bodies. The sea temperature is too cold really for swimming with just a costume, and these people can stay in much longer. Just a tiny little. It really is a lovely spot. Okay, the surfboards. Some were quite bright, so let's go on that one. Let's take that one out. So no great shadow, so I won't put it in. Right, I'm going to assign that. Seagulls, you know, the Nuki. Right, let's have a look and see what we've done. I don't like that. It's a bit of a bodge, really. Well, there we are. It's I should have left that alone, shouldn't I, really? Probably better like that. Oh, well, there it is. Watergate Bay series on the beach, going to the surf. See in the photograph, there's no detail in this. It's all just lost in the distance and the slight sea mist, well, hovering above the sea itself. I don't quite like this, but that went wrong. That's okay. The figures are okay. So we'll see what you think of that. Let's zoom in and have a little look around. Let's have a look at the figures. See, they give scale to everything. Without them, you don't know how big anything is. And there's my cliff, very simply stated. And you saw how I well, you've seen many times now how I do the rocks. I'll tell you what, if I can, if you can bear with me a second or two, I've got a painting here, a demonstration that was done by John Darlison about 30 years ago. And John Darlison was a very fine painter. This is a full imperial size painting he did, where I learnt that technique. So I haven't pictured it from anybody other than him. I'll have to zoom out on this because this was done for Shorten and Wallington art group all those years ago. He used I think it was 200-pound weight Saunders rough. And now let's bring the camera around a bit so you more or less, well, there we are. Look at my bit of Cornish tan. And what happened, he wet both sides of the paper quite thoroughly before half hour before we started, so they wouldn't dry out too quickly. And then he painted, he just used a 2-inch, I think he probably used a squirrel hair brush, I'm not sure, a 1-inch brush, and as the paper dried, you got this dry brush effect. He put a figure in here, very loosely stated, the bridge, beautiful painting. And we've got this tumbling river here, Lake District, Yorkshire Dales, wherever. And the funny thing was, when he put the paint in here and used the credit card or whatever card he used, the card to scrape out. As I framed this quite quickly, and the colours dropped. You can see, but not too much. But that was the technique he used. He did a rough pencils drawing first. He probably demonstrated it a number of times, rather than going cold and make a mess in front of a load of artists, many of whom are better than him or anybody else come to that. But I love it. It was a wonderful 2 hours entertainment demonstration. I hope you like that one. That's John Darlison, and I hope you're still in good health, John, if you ever get round to watching these. Right, I'll remove that. That's a big size to demonstrate. So I'll just go in and thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed most of that. Goodbye.